Hello children, today's first topic is radius of illumination. That means Snell's window. See the diagram very clearly. Light source inside water tank. When a light source like electric bulb is kept inside a water tank, the light from the source travel in all direction inside the water. The light that is incident on the water surface at angle less than the critical angle will undergo refraction and emerge out from the water. The light incident at an angle greater than the critical angle will undergo total internal reflection. The light falling particularly at a critical angle grazes the surface. Thus, the entire surface of water appears illuminated when seen from outside, which is shown in the diagram. You can see the diagram clearly. On the other hand, when light entering the water from outside is seen from inside the water, the view is restricted to a particular angle equal to the critical angle, that means IC. The restricted illuminated circular area is called Snell's window. So, the Snell's window is clearly shown in the diagram 6.26a and 6.26c. Shows view of water animals. So, this is Snell's window. This is also Snell's window, so you can see clearly the diagrams. Snell's window and the angle of view for water animals. The angle of view for water animals is restricted to twice the critical angle 2IC. The critical angle for water is 48.6 degree. Thus the critical angle of view is 97.2 degree. The radius r of the circular area depends on the depth d from which it is seen and also refractive indices of the media. The radius of Snell's window can be reduced with illustration. The diagram is given clearly. See the diagram. So, we are going to learn thoroughly about Snell's window with the help of this diagram. Light is seen from a point A at depth d. The Snell's law is product from equation 6.19. The refraction happening at the point B on the boundary between the two media is N1 sin IC is equal to N2 sin 90 degree. So, N1 sin IC is equal to N2 sin 90 degree is equal to, we know very well. So, sin IC is equal to N2 by N1. From the right angle triangle ABC, sin IC is equal to C by AB is equal to R by root of D square plus R square. So, using equation 6.34 and equation 6.35, we will get R by root of D square plus R square is equal to N2 by N1. So, finally, we will get taking reciprocal R square plus D square by R square is equal to root of, that means square of N1 by N2. On further simplifying, we will get 1 plus D square by R square is equal to N1 by N2 whole square. So, finally, we will get, again taking reciprocal and rearranging, R square is equal to D square into N2 square by N1 square minus N2 square. The radius of illumination is R is equal to D into root of N2 square by N1 square minus N2 square. If the rare medium outside is air, then N2 is equal to 1 and we can take N1 is equal to N. So, R is equal to D into 1 by root of N1 square minus 1, or R is equal to D by root of N square minus 1. Our next topic is optical fiber. Children, see that this diagram, a small thread like wire is there. This is called optical fiber. And also see that optical fiber, light is traveling through it, total internal reflection, Gladding has a lower refractive index and the core has a refractive index. Now we are going to see what is meant by optical fiber. Transmitting signals through optical fiber is possible due to the phenomenon of total internal reflection. Optical fibers consist of inner part called core and outer part called cladding. That means sleeving. The refractive index of the material of the core must be higher than that of cladding for the total internal reflection to happen. Signal in the form of light is made to incident inside the core cladding boundary at an angle greater than the critical angle. Hence, it undergoes repeated the total internal reflection along the length of the fiber without undergoing any refraction. Light travels inside the core with no appreciable loss in intensity of light. We will see in the diagram. Even while bending the optical fiber, it is done such a way that the condition for total internal reflection is ensured at every reflection. We will see the diagram 6.28. So now we are going to see the same topic, but subtopic is acceptance angle in optical fiber. To ensure the critical angle incident in the core cladding boundary inside the optical fiber, the light should be incident at a certain angle at the end of the optical fiber while entering to it. This angle is called acceptance angle. It depends on the refractive indices of the core N1 cladding N2 and the outer medium N3. Assume the light is incident at an angle called acceptance angle IA at outer medium and the core boundary at A. Students, we are going to see acceptance angle with the help of this diagram. See the diagram very clearly, and this is also the cone shaped acceptance angle. We are going to see very elaborately. The Snell's law in the product form equation 6.19 for this refraction at a point A is N3 sin IA is equal to N1 sin RA. To have the total internal reflection inside the optical fiber, the angle of incidence at the core cladding interface at B should be at least critical angle IC. Snell's law in the product form equation for the refraction at point B is N1 sin IC is equal to N2 sin 90 degree. N1 sin IC is equal to N2. Therefore, sin 90 degree is equal to 1. Therefore, sin IC is equal to N2 by N1. From the right angle triangle ABC, sin IC is equal to 90 minus RA. Now the equation 6.39 becomes sin 90 degree minus RA is equal to N2 by N1. Using trigonometry, cos RA is equal to N2 by N1, sin RA is equal to root of 1 minus cos square RA. Substituting for the cos RA, we will get sin RA is equal to root of N1 square minus N2 square by N1 square. Substituting this equation 6.37, N3 sin IA is equal to N1 root of N1 square minus N2 square by N1 square is equal to root of N1 square minus N2 square. Further simplification, we will get sin IA is equal to root of N1 square minus N2 square by N square 3. So IA is equal to sin inverse root of N1 square minus N2 square by N square 3. So for outer medium is here, then N3 is equal to 1. The accepted angle IA becomes IA is equal to sin inverse root of N1 square minus N2 square. Light can have any angle of incidence from 0 to IA with normal at the end of the optical fiber, forming a conical shape called acceptance cone, as earlier we see in the diagram. The term N3 sin IA is called numerical aperture, that means NA of the optical fiber. So NA is equal to N3 sin IA is equal to root of N1 square minus N2 square. The outer medium is air, then N3 is equal to 1. The numerical aperture NA becomes NA is equal to sin IA is equal to root of N1 square minus N2 square. Our next topic is refraction in glass slab. When a ray of light passes through a glass slab, it is refracts at two interfering surfaces. When the light ray enters the slab, it travels from rarer medium, that means air medium, to glass medium. There is a deviation of ray towards normal. When the light ray leaves the slab, it travels from denser medium to rarer medium, resulting in deviation of ray away from the normal. After two refractions, the emerging ray has the same direction as that of incident ray on the slab with the normal. That means lateral displacement or a shift L. That means there is no change in the direction of any ray, but the path of the incident ray and the refracted ray are different and parallel to each other. To calculate lateral displacement, a perpendicular is drawn in between the paths of incident ray and refracted ray. So this is the diagram we are going to see, that is a deviation of light through the glass slab. See clearly. Consider the glass slab of thickness T and the refractive index N is the kept in air medium. The path of the light is ABCD and the refractions occur at the 2 points B and C in the glass slab. The angles of incidence I and the refraction R are measured with respect to the normal N1 and the normal N2 at the 2 points B and C respectively. The lateral displacement L is perpendicular distance CA drawn between the path of light and the undeviated path of the light at point C. The right angle triangle BCE sin I minus R is equal to L by BC. BC is equal to L by sin I minus R. Derivative number 6.48. In the right angle triangle BCF, cos R is equal to T by BC. That BC is equal to T by cos R. So equating the equation 6.48 and 49, L by sin I minus R is equal to T by cos R. After rearranging, we will get L is equal to T into sin I minus R by cos R. So the lateral displacement depends upon the thickness of the slab. Thicker the slab, greater will be the lateral displacement. The greater the angle of incidence, larger will be the lateral displacement. Refraction at a single spherical surface. We have so far studied only the refraction at a plane surface. The refraction also do take place at the spherical surface between the two transparent media. The laws of refraction hold good at every point on the spherical surface. The normal at the point of incidence is perpendicular to the tangent plane to the spherical surface at the point. Therefore, the normal always passes through its center of curvature. The study of refraction at the single spherical surface paves way to the understanding of thin lenses, which is consist of two surfaces of which one or both must be spherical. The following assumptions are made to while considering the refraction at a spherical surfaces. A. The incident light is assumed to be monochromatic, that means single color. The incident ray of light is very close to the principal axis, that means paraxial rays. The sign conventions are similar to that of spherical mirrors. Equation for refraction at a single spherical surface. Let us consider two transparent media having refractive indices N1 and N2 are separated by a spherical surface. Let C be the center of curvature of the spherical surface. Let a point object O be in the medium N1. The line OC cuts the spherical surface at the pole P of the surface. As the rays considered are paraxial rays, the perpendicular dropped for the point of incidence to the spherical axis is very close to the pole or passes through the pole itself. Students, this is the diagram. We are going to solve the refraction at a single spherical surface with the diagram. So, light from O falls on the refracting surface at N. The normal drawn at the point of incidence passes through the center of curvature C. As N2 is greater than N1, light in the denser medium deviates towards the normal and meets the principal axis at I, where the image is formed. Snell's law, the product form of for the refraction at point N could be written as N1 sin I is equal to N2 sin R. So, as the angles are small, sine of angles could be approximated to the angle itself. So, N1 I is equal to N2 R. Let the angles NOP is equal to alpha, NCP is equal to beta, NIP is equal to gamma. So, we will get tan alpha Pn by P4, tan beta Pn by Pc, tan gamma Pn by Pi. So, we will get alpha is equal to Pn by Po, beta is equal to Pn Pc, gamma is equal to Pn by Pa because tan will be small. So for the triangle ONC, I is equal to alpha plus beta. From the triangle INC, beta is equal to R plus gamma or R is equal to beta minus gamma. Substituting for I and R from the equations, N1 alpha plus beta is equal to N2 beta minus gamma. So rearranging we will get this derivative. See the derivative very slowly, and finally further simplifying by the cancelling Pn, N1 by Po plus N2 by Pa is equal to N2 minus N1 by Pc. Following sign convention, Po is equal to minus U, Pa is equal to plus V, Pc is equal to plus R in equation 6.58. So N1 by minus U plus N2 by V is equal to N2 minus N1 by R. After rearranging, finally we will get N2 by V minus N1 by U is equal to N2 minus N1 by R. From the equation, gives the relation among the object distance U and the imaginary distance V refracted indices of the two media N1 and N2 on the radius of curvature R of the spherical surface. It holds for any spherical surface. If the first medium is air, then N1 is equal to 1 and the second medium is taken just as N2 is equal to N, then equation is reduced to N by V minus 1 by U is equal to N minus 1 by R. Lateral magnification in single spherical surface. Let us consider an extended object O dash is kept perpendicular to the principal axis to the length of the single spherical surface as shown in the diagram. The image formed on the other side of the surface is I dash. Consider a ray from O dash in the first medium towards C in the second medium, as this ray is incident normal to the spherical surface. It goes undeviated in the second medium. The position of image may be located using the equation 6.60. See the diagram. Then the lateral or transverse magnification M is defined as the ratio of height of the image to the height of the object. M is equal to II dash by OO dash. So from the two similar triangles COO dash and CI dash we can write II dash by OO dash is equal to CI by CO. From the geometry, CA by CO is equal to PI minus PC by PC plus PO. Hence we will get M is equal to I dash by OO dash is equal to PI minus PC by PC plus PO. So apply the sign convention in the above equation. I dash is equal to minus H2, O dash is equal to H1, PA is equal to plus V, PC is equal to plus R, PO is equal to minus U, where H1 is the height of the object and H2 is the height of the image. Finally, we will get M is equal to minus H2 by H1 is equal to V minus R by R plus bracket of minus U is equal, and M is equal to H2 by H1 is equal to minus V minus R by R minus U. After rearranging, M is equal to H2 by H1 is equal to R minus V by R minus U. So we can also arrive at an equation for the lateral magnification involving the refractive indices of the two media. So N2 by V minus N1 by U is equal to N2 minus N1 by R. Further simplifying, N2U minus N1V by VU is equal to N2 minus N1 by R. Rewriting for R, R is equal to N2 minus N1 VU by N2U minus N1V. Rearranging we will get RE minus U, N2U V minus U by N2U minus N1V. So R minus V is equal to N1V into V minus U by N2U minus N1V. So substitute the equation 6.61, 6.62 in equation 6.60 we will get the lateral magnification is M is equal to H2 by H1 is equal to N1V by N2U. Thin lens. A lens is formed by a transparent material bounded between the two spherical surfaces or one plane and another spherical surface. In thin lens, the distance between the surfaces is very small. If there are two spherical surfaces, then there will be two centers of curvature C1 and C2 and correspondingly two radii of curvature R1 and R2. A plane surface has its center of curvature C at infinity and its radius of curvature R is infinity. The Terminologies of spherical mirror also hold good for very much thin lens except for focal length. Primary and secondary focal points. As thin lens is formed by two spherical surfaces, the lens may separate two different media. That means the media to the left and right side of the lens may be different. Hence, we have to focal length. See the diagram. Primary focal point and this diagram secondary focal point. Primary focus f1 is defined as point where an object should be placed to give parallel emergent rays to the principal axis. So for a convergent lens such as an object is real object and for a divergent lens it is a virtual object, the distance pf1 is primary focal length f1. The secondary focus f2 is defined as point where all the parallel rays traveling close to the principal axis converge to form an image on the principal axis. For a convergent lens, such an image is a real image, and for a divergent lens, it is a virtual image. The distance pf2 is secondary focal length f2. If the media on the two sides of thin lens have same refractive index, then the two focal lengths are equal. We will mostly be using secondary focus f2 in our further discussions. Thank you, children. We'll see next class.